Hi there. Thanks for downloading the Garden Fork Radio podcast. If this is your first time listening, Garden Fork Radio is the audio companion to a video show I have, aptly named Garden Fork. It's a mashup of DIY, gardening, cooking, maker projects, home improvement. Basically, I do stuff on the weekend and I make a video about it, and I put it up on our website and on YouTube. And Garden Fork Radio is the podcast companion for while you're driving to work in your car. It's me and friends talking about, well, whatever comes into our heads, basically, about that same kind of world. Today, Garden Fork contributor Sarah is going to join me. We're going to talk about a bit about her photography. She's like taken that and run with it, her photography career, and also some apps that we like. So please enjoy. If you would consider writing a review for us and our iTunes Garden Fork Radio page, that would be great as well. All right, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to Garden Fork Radio. You're here with Rick and Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
I don't know if everyone remembers, but Sarah is a Garden Fork contributor in a big way, and now Sarah and I happen to be neighbors. We live on the same street in New York and Brooklyn, and we're actually Skyping about 10 houses apart.
Yeah. Hi. Stone's throw, as they say.
Yeah, but I don't know if this happens in other towns, but in New York, I actually have a lot of friends, and I've never been in their houses. I will meet them somewhere, or meet them run into them on the street, or meet them at a restaurant or a coffee place or something, but I've never been in their house.
I think that's really common in New York, too, because people's apartments are so tiny.
Oh, I never thought of it that way, yeah.
So you socialize elsewhere.
I was just wondering if maybe they never made their bed in the morning or something. And
Oh, well, see, that's what I'm saying. Our bed is in our living room because our apartment's so tiny.
There you go. But we've been talking about getting together for the Garden Fork Radio audience because we're both doing kind of self-employed things, and you've really gone off. You've kind of taken the ball and run with it because well, why don't you tell everyone, instead of me trying to tell everyone what you're doing, why don't you just let us know what you're doing now?
Right now, my biggest... the way I spend most of my time work-wise is photographing food, and primarily for small businesses. I also get hired for recipe development and food writing, but the photography, it takes up the largest percentage of that time.
And there's a bunch of food startups around here, so it's kind of a perfect place to be.
Yeah, everyone needs photographs, all those new food companies.
And once they try it themselves and they realize, oh, this isn't as easy as it looks.
Mm-hmm. Right. And as a small business owner, it's just you're juggling so many balls. It's nice to kind of outsource one of those balls when you can swing it in the budget.
How did you kind of come about to the food photography?
Well, I was doing a lot of freelance, basically blogging, and one of the ways that I was finding my posts were really standing out was the quality of the photography. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough to do. I still do some of that kind of more general content creation, but it's kind of tough to manage all of those moving parts. So it's more lucrative and more satisfying for me to focus on just one area of that at a time.
Yep.
And like I said, everyone needs photos. So there are people who have an amazing product or really great ideas or they can write about it, but they just can't take the photos. So it's a handy kind of technical thing to get someone else to take care of it for you.
If you were, if someone was asking you that just starting out that they want to start improving their photography, moving on from just a simple phone snap, what would you suggest as far as a camera?
Well, first I would say look into getting a used camera is what I would say. And look at buying the body and the and the lens separately. So you can just buy the body on its own. And I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on what like the initial tiers of bodies are. Do you
Yep.
know what I mean? Like I know what's the one that the Nikon one that people use, the Rebel? Is that what it's
That's the
called?
Canon Rebel. I use that.
What's the Canon Rebel? Okay. I can't remember what the Nikon was. So that illustrates my point exactly. I don't know what the early tier ones are because I kind of just sprung for a really pricey one right from the get-go. But I wouldn't recommend that if you're new, you know what I mean, if you're new to it. I think I had is it a 60D? I think I had, which I got used from a I purchased used from a family member. So I think buy a used one, um,
Because they
and
work perfectly well.
then exactly. And I think the same goes for lenses, is to buy a used lens and research what kind of lens you need for the type of photography that you're doing. And that's so easy these days. You can find a blogger maybe who you follow who does that kind of photography, and they'll usually say what kind of lenses they use.
Oh, totally. Oh, that's brilliant. I guess I should put on the site what equipment I use.
Oh, yeah, I bet people would love to know that.
Yeah. We shoot most of the videos with this 10-year-old Canon camcorder.
Well, that's a thing with photography too, and maybe this is true of videography also, where there's a joke about photographers being asked that all the time, like, oh, your pictures are so pretty, what kind of camera do you use? Like, it's not about the photographer, it's more about the camera.
Yeah.
But I see it both ways, because when I did upgrade my body and lens, the quality of my photography did improve. But I think the less expensive place to start is to improve your own skills first. So you can improve a lot with your understanding of lighting and styling and the technical ins and outs of your camera before you invest money in upgrading.
All right, cool. See, that was already a tangent. Initially, when Sarah and I ran into each other on the street, Sarah said, let's talk about apps we're using. I was like, okay.
We could talk about anything that people want, might help people out.
Well, actually, what's helped me out a lot, and I've been kind of proselytizing about it and people know about it, but I didn't realize you were also using it, is the Headspace meditation app.
Yes. And proselytizing is the exact word that I used about it the other day. I was like, I hate to proselytize, but I'm obsessed.
Yeah, it's I have managed to get a couple of friends to use it, and they're actually kind of sharing about it as well. So it's not like this. Meditation is kind of a solitary thing, but there's also a social glue there as well that I like.
Wait, well, why don't we tell everyone what it is? In case people don't know, the Headspace.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
It's a meditation app, yeah.
Yeah, I have what people call a monkey brain, or I call it the hamster wheel, where my brain is constantly running, and I find it difficult to focus and sometimes difficult to go to sleep even, or something will get in under my skin, like some guy cut me off on the road and it bothers me all day. And actually, I had seen a therapist, and he tried to get me to meditate, and I thought it was just the weirdest thing in the world, but maybe because he was trying to get me to do it. And then I saw a video about the guy that started the Headspace app, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. And it's an app that helps you meditate and does improve my life, but it's just done in a non-preachy way, I guess.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel super woo-woo or, even the actual visuals in it are just very clean and straightforward, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, they have these animated videos about, you're supposed to be kind of like emptying your brain, and they're like, well, imagine you're sitting in front of a highway and you're just watching the cars, and it's much like that, where if something gets into your brain, you just put it on the highway and let it go by instead of like grabbing onto it. And that really helped me. And you kind of learned that yes, stuff's going to come into your head while you're meditating, but you just learn to let it go and focus back on the body and the breath. And it's kind of amazing. I really actually look forward to it. It's like 10 or 15 minutes of the day that I can actually sit still and not be kind of twerky, you know?
I would say not only do I look forward to it, because I do, but I also feel like I don't know what the right way to say it is, but it just, the effects go for me far beyond the actual session. Like the session is great. I feel like, yeah, I've treated myself to 10 minutes of, quiet, and but I noticed once I started doing it regularly that I just feel happier and more at ease.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so at ease when I was giving blood. I was at the Red Cross giving blood the other day, and I don't like needles, so I'm just like, I'm not even paying attention to what the lady's doing. And she almost had to slap me to like, because I was just being calm and I had my eyes closed. She's like, I need you to hold your fist out, you know? And so I was like, I was meditating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's helped in everyday life. And it's helped me to just, okay, so one of the reasons I wanted to do it is I'm not a very patient person. And I really feel like it's helped me with it's like magic. It's helped me become a more patient person. I mean, I'm still very imperfect with that, but it has really helped. And I feel like I'm sleeping better. Like for me, meditation, what put me off from it initially was that I'm already doing all these other things, right? Like I like to try to work out in the morning. I'm trying to eat healthy. I wanted to journal, and there are all these things I want to learn about there. And I just felt like, well, meditation is just another thing. I already do yoga. Do I really need to meditate too? And now that I've been doing it, I feel like it almost takes precedence over all the other things. Like to me, that's the first thing I need to do. And then if I get to the other things, great. Because it sort of sets the stage for everything else to be more successful.
That's interesting because I was actually, I exercise 3 times a week. And I was like, and my friend is trying to get me to go to his yoga class. And I'm like, well, I imagine I can already do the breathing, so the yoga is essentially much like physical therapy exercises that I've done. But I was curious about that. I mean, is there a meditation component to a yoga class?
Yeah, it's different. Some people refer to yoga as meditation in motion. So I'm not an expert on the different types of yoga. I usually do vinyasa yoga, which is you're pretty much constantly moving, like you don't hold the poses for a long time.
Okay.
And it does feel very meditative.
Huh. We just have to wait for a yoga class to open up in our neighborhood now. So.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. They have yoga actually at the rec center. Sorry, another tangent.
Oh, yeah. You can always check out your local Y or your local park. We have a city park with a big recreation building. Who knew?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the next thing is a totally different tangent. Is I don't even know how do you pronounce this app? YNAB?
YNAB, yeah. You need a budget. That's what YNAB stands for.
Interesting.
It's do you do any budgeting, or do you have a budget?
No, I'm not in charge of that department.
Ah, yes, I see. We sort of take turns being in charge. So I recently sort of took charge again in the form of getting on board with this app. You need a budget, and it's sort of like if anyone is on or has been in the past, Mint.com. Same idea, where it aggregates all of your accounts so you can kind of see what's going on in one place. But further to that, it is a kind of a philosophy unto itself. So it puts a major thing they want you to get out in front of is kind of paying off your bills paycheck to paycheck. So they want you to start aging your money. So it tells you like how old your money is, how long it's been there, which I think is kind of a neat concept. And probably one of their other really big things is helping you to budget for things that you don't normally think to budget for. So like you always think to budget your monthly, like the things that occur every month.
Like your electric bill.
Exactly. But then maybe some stuff that occurs just twice a year or, maybe you get a haircut quarterly or things like that. It starts incorporating those things into your budget as well. And I've found that really helpful. Or, some people will do something like this and then they'll find, I'm pretty new to it, so I haven't seen this pattern yet, but where they say, oh, like every month I see that I just end up spending $200 extra on various incidentals. And so now you could budget, you could either say, wait, what am I really spending that money on? And do I need to be? But if you decide, yeah, these are things that just come up and I can't necessarily plan for each specific one, I can estimate in my budget that I'll have about $200 of incidentals every month.
Yeah, I guess it's a pleasant way of putting things in order, and it's not like pulling teeth and having to get out a legal pad and write it all down. But it's plus the fact that it's very mobile, so if you think of something, you can check on it right away.
It's really user-friendly, so you can pull it up, after you make a purchase, you can pull it up and just categorize that purchase right away when you pull it in. So it's very, and I feel this way about the Headspace app too. Like there are probably some apps out there that would be very useful if I could get past that learning curve of figuring out how to use it. But the Headspace app and this app, the YNAB app, they're just so easy to use. They're so intuitive.
That's kind of a brilliant thing. I mean, because it's the basics have been there for ages, but to make it easy to do, I think is the important part. Mm-hmm. They have our own podcast, I see here, and a YouTube channel.
Oh, YNAB does. Oh, I think I heard before I ever signed up for them, I heard the owner, I can't recall his name, or one of the co-owners, on a as a guest on a podcast.
That's interesting. I am not the money department of our family, but I'm going to check with the money department about this.
Mm-hmm, right. So what apps are you using?
I just bought an app called Gaia GPS that allows you to record your hiking on in the woods or on a road or really wherever you are. It's Android and iPhone compatible, and you basically turn it on and you allow it to use your location, and it will download, if you have cellular data service in the area you are, it will download a GPS, a topographic map of where you are if you're in the United States, which is very cool. And all of a sudden you're like there's a lot of trails in our town, and I'm like, I would like to document all these trails that we take, because I'm just kind of a data map geek anyway. So you basically turn it on and you hit record and you just go on your hike. And then when you're done, you hit stop record. And it saves that. It basically looks like a squiggly line on the topo map, But mm-hmm. Then you can log into their website where you have an account, and you can download it as several GPS vector files and open it up in a desktop GPS program if you want to tweak it, or you can just print it out, or you can publicly share it if you choose to do that. And I don't want to do that because it's private land we're on.
Because I was thinking that would be, can you search for them? Like if you're in an area?
Yes.
The ones that people have made public? Because that would be, I'm going to download that for the next time we're somewhere. We're always kind of out in random places. Like we'll just, rent a house upstate or something for the weekend. And it would be nice to just pull up like hikes that people can do nearby.
Yeah, after you have an account, is this a Gaia? That kind of yoga words, that GAIA GPS. Because I started an account there and they're like, oh, well, you'd made your trail here. And it's a private file. It's not public. But they said here are on the side bar, there's like, here are some trails nearby you that people have made public. And one of them was a very interesting trail, a hike that in the town next to us, and I had heard about these trails over there. So it kind of was like, oh, so you can, I don't know if you can load that trail into your phone or if you print it out, but it was neat. And it gave me an idea of checking out, there's a land conservancy in the next town, and I know that they have some trails there. So that was pretty cool. So I actually thought about you because you are, you and your friends will rent a big house for a week or something, and all of a sudden you don't really know the town you're in and you don't know what to do. And you're like, oh, I could go on these trails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely do that. I mean, we really are. We're always like, maybe we'll find a pamphlet somewhere that happens to have a trail. But it would be nice to just be able to pull them up and see how long they are, how difficult they are. Because you said it's topographical, right?
Yeah. You can also go to your local library. The library in the town next to us actually keeps trail maps of the area. And if you're anywhere near like the Appalachian Trail, I've gone into is it REI? Is that the camping store? They always have maps of nearby trails whenever I've been into one of those camping stores. Something to think about.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap app. It's like $20, which is more expensive than a lot of apps. But it does a lot. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world. And I had to kind of teach myself. And they're kind of GPS foamers that wrote it. And I'm like, I'm going to email them and say, if maybe just a little bit more documentation would be handy. But you literally turn the thing on and hit go, and it'll record a trail. And I thought that was pretty cool. And you can email that trail to your friends along with this, I think it's called a vector file that you can open up on a desktop GPS thing, and you can tweak the trail. I'm curious because there are my part of Connecticut, they actually mined iron ore during the Revolutionary War, and there were some rudimentary forges where they would melt it down into a rudimentary iron before they shipped it down river. And those are still up in the woods, and I have some historical maps of the town with these little dots marking these forges, and I could overlay that on my topo map and my hikes I've gone on, and I could maybe chart a course and record my hike to those forges, and I thought that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
I'm geeking out on that.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, so it's $20 and then you own the app?
Yep.
Like you don't, well, it's definitely more expensive than some other ones, but that still doesn't sound like a horrible deal to me.
There's another one called Map My Hike, but I think all your hikes are public. I could be wrong about that.
I think I looked at one called Map My Run before, which might be similar. I mean, it's the same technology.
It's the same company.
GPS. Okay.
There's a sports athletic wear company that has a technology company as well, and they're making those two apps.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about the public part of it. But I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look like I can keep this private, and that's kind of important because it's private property, and so you just don't want people tromping all over the place. But
yeah, for sure.
They do anyway. Huh?
They do anyway, yeah. I don't know. You don't do that where I came from.
It's weird up by me. I don't know, there's a lot of land and it's marked, and all of a sudden and there's these people show up, and I'm like, do you not read the sign?
I would be too scared to trespass.
Anyway, so what's your next one here?
I don't know. What else? You know what? I'm thinking of a random one called Twilight.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I don't know if you've ever seen anything that referenced studies to this point that looking at the blue light on your screen before you go to bed can disrupt your sleep.
I've read that, yeah.
You've read that? Okay. So this app, I think there's a different one for the iPhone. Might just be an Android app, but there's one that's more well-known even for the iPhone app that adjusts the color temperature of your screen toward the end of the day to make it more warmer toned to avoid that from happening. Basically gives you an excuse to be on your phone right up until the time you go to sleep. Not really. I still try not to do that because it's still stimulating. But if I am on my phone, I feel like it's nice to have those warmer tones in the evening because supposedly the cool tones can disrupt your sleep.
Wow. I fall asleep. I just fall asleep with the iPad. I'm like, it hits me.
Maybe you need this. I can't remember what the one is called for Apple.
I have to check it out. Another one you had mentioned is the Google Keep Note
Oh, I love that. I love that app. And I think there's something else for the iPhone, right? Do you have some simple note-taking
Yep.
app for the iPhone? So Google Keep, I love because it's just the fastest. I mean, one of the greatest things about having this phone, near me at most times is if I'm out and about and I think of something I need to do or think of an idea for a blog post, whatever it is, I can just make a quick note on here. And I think I was telling you that I used to just use Google Drive,
Right.
but the actual app is just a little slower to load and I have to burrow more. So I have to open Google Drive and then I have to find the note that I was working on in particular. And the Google Keep one, I just click on it and I can start typing. And I have my grocery list on here and I shared it with my husband. So it doesn't matter, we can both edit the grocery list and then whoever happens to be doing the grocery shopping has access to it.
Wow, if my wife would only shop for groceries.
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with grocery shopping. I love it, but it can be very time consuming.
I become a convert to Costco, so.
Oh yeah, I'm still diehard food co-op.
Well, I mean, whatever works for you. I miss the co-op, but it's just the trek over there because we live in a different neighborhood now for me. But anyway, that's more than people need to know about us. All right, so one more app, and this was on your list here. You're using the Stitcher podcast app.
Yes. So, as it's become clear during this conversation, I have an Android phone, and I use the Stitcher app for all my podcast listening, and I love it.
I haven't, I've never used it. You can get Garden Fork on the Stitcher app, but the podcast app is just kind of loaded into the iPhone, so I'd never thought to look at anything else. Does it give like alerts when you have a new show to listen to or something, or can you create playlists?
You can create playlists. You can be alerted. I am kind of in the camp. I don't have any notifications come to my phone from any of my apps. The only I don't even get email notifications. I only get notifications if someone texts me, or if I get a phone call. But you can have it set to notify you. But otherwise I have playlists in there, and especially and I can just load them up, and you can make those playlists available offline, which is very useful, especially on the subway. So it's just a way that I can kind of consume all my favorite content while I'm either out and about or if I'm working from home.
Well, besides the favorite Garden Fork radio podcast, what are some of the other podcasts you listen to?
Let's see. Some of my favorites are, I listen to one called The Broad Experience. It's a podcast mostly for the ladies, or about the experience of being, but the woman who does it has really interesting guests on. What else am I listening to these days? I really like The School of Greatness. Have you heard of that one? It's
No.
Lewis Howes. He's a former, I don't know what, maybe football player. He's a former pro athlete of some sort that I did not follow. And now he's a lifestyle entrepreneur. But the reason I like his podcast is his podcast is very inspiring. So he's always kind of putting a positive message out into the world with his guests. And so it just always leaves me feeling really good and motivated.
Oh.
I really like Being Boss. It's a podcast for creative entrepreneurs. And that one is just full of, I like their banter, but also the tips that they give are very actionable. So I leave a podcast thinking, okay, here's another thing that I can do to improve my business.
Oh, cool. I listen to a couple of like blogger podcasts, and sometimes I'm just like, I just can't do it all. So I don't listen to them.
It gets overwhelming, right?
Because they're doing it all right. And I'm like, I just always feel like I'm running up the down escalator,
You know what? That's a big thing in work and in life, though. It's just that comparison trap. It's just hard not to fall into it.
Oh yeah, don't get me started because like I'm always comparing my YouTube views to my maker DIY friends with YouTube views, and I'm like, why do they get? Why don't people watch mine? You know?
Mm-hmm. You know, I just finished or I'm not done with it yet, but I'm almost done reading. Have you heard of Rework?
No.
Okay, so it's a sort of business related book, but it's more like business in this day and age, and they're all about staying like lean and not one upping. So being really good at the thing that you do and not sort of like not just not comparing yourself, but almost resisting that temptation to one up, and how it can better serve, the people that, you're out there to help. And I thought that was so interesting because I experience that all the time as a photographer. Get more expensive lights, buy a fancier camera or lens, there's get a fancy studio space. And there's so many ways that I can be tempted to up my game in that way. But in reality, that's just going to make my prices go up, so it's not. There are other ways that I can continue to improve the quality of what I'm providing people without kind of pricing myself out of my dream client.
Yeah, there's a quote. Okay, I don't know who originated this, but it says, and I have it on the wall here, be yourself, everything else is taken.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So I'm just trying to be myself.
I think you're doing it.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for taking the time. I didn't say it at the beginning of the show, but you've got 2 young children. You have your own business. You run the family, and then you make time for the podcast, which I love.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. Anytime I get the opportunity to talk with you, Eric.
Cool. So, Sarah, where can people find you on the internet?
My website is saraecrowder.com, Sarah with an H, ecrowder.com. And I'm at Sarah E. Crowder on most platforms. I'm mostly active on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Instagram.
As a photographer, it's kind of a natural platform for me.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Garden Fork's theme music is used under license from uniquetracks.com.